Welcome back to another episode of Industry Standard with me, Barry Katz, whirlwind trip Montreal. It is 11:30 a.m. in the morning on Saturday here at the Just for Laughs Festival, and it's hard to believe that I am up and alive. And my guest today, JB Smoove, and his manager, Rick Dorfman, are here in this room at the Hyatt Hotel. Let me tell you something. You know that kind of hotel that you just walk into and the room smells like something happened here that was cleaned up? Maybe there was a murder. They did some kind of industrial cleaning. You open the door and it smells like cover-up of death. I don't know what it is. It smells like there was some kind of caution tape in here at some point in time. But that's okay. As JB Smoove walks in this room, he realizes his life as a comedian is better than my life, which is really, really obvious when you look at this room here. It's pretty sad, but it's okay. All you need is a room and $1 to drink, and we are here. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot. Rick Dorfman here, JB's manager. You know, it means a lot to me more than anything else in the world, I think. You know, everybody out there, you send all these letters and emails and faxes and tweets and Facebook messages. And that means so much when I get all these notes, lets you know you're on the right track. And I'm not saying that isn't vitally important to me, because it is. It's so incredible that you guys are so supportive. But I rarely, sort of get to mix with so many people from the industry as I do here at the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival. And one of the things that happened to me the other night, I was coming in and a lot of people were stopping me. And some that I didn't know, some that I knew, old faces, friendly faces, saying that they listen and that they like it and that they feel like they get a lot out of it. And that means a lot to me, because that's the only reason that I do it. Because clearly, based on this Hyatt hotel room, is not going well, ladies and gentlemen. The money isn't rolling in from the podcast, but that's okay. And Rick Dorfman, JB's manager, he came right up to me. It was so wonderful. He hugged me. He said, "I love your podcast." And he reached into his pocket and he opened up his wallet. And he pulled out a $20 bill and he handed it to me and he said, "Barry, I want to give you this $20 bill." I'm like, why do you want to give me this $20 bill? "Because of the podcast, Barry. I want to give you this $20 bill." I'm like, "Really? That's so nice of you." "Yes, Barry." And I start holding the 20. I feel like I'm going to take this 20 from him, teach this guy a lesson if I can do anything. And he says, "No, I'm not letting go of this. I'm giving you the 20. If you could just edit your intros, please. They are too long. I can't finish these things. Edit the fucking intros and I will give you this $20. And I was holding on tight like the Jew I am. But I said, "You know what? I'm going to let go of this 20 because that's all I have is these intros. After that, it's all about everybody else." So that's the story there. When I look at my guest, JB Smoove, I always tell stories when I look at somebody and I never know what I'm going to say. And I'm going to say something that's going to be very honest and open. From the moment I met JB Smoove, I love JB Smoove. There's something about this guy that was just so unique and authentic and special. And he was always so nice. I never, ever saw JB Smoove lose his temper. I never, ever saw him be mean to another comic. I never saw him in the back of the Boston Comedy Club getting into a fight with another comedian because he stole their joke. I never saw JB Smoove ever do anything that wasn't positive and first class. And I always loved that about him. And I always really, really loved his talent. And as a manager, when you love somebody's talent, you want to work with them. But every time he'd come to the club, he always was one of the first guys who had a manager, and his manager was one of the most extraordinarily beautiful women you would ever meet in your entire life. And she would come every time, and it was like, oh God, I guess I'm never going to work with JB Smoove because how's he going to ever leave that? But if I had a manager like that, I'd never leave the house. I would just be calling up people to come over. It was just, she was just incredible. I don't even know. I didn't know what she did as a manager. I didn't know if she was effective. She wasn't effective. I didn't care. I was never going to talk to JB in regards to that. But I tried doing little things like colleges and things like that. And to show you how relationships work, Rick Dorfman at the time was working in my office. And he was doing a lot of great things in management back then. He had a lot of great visions. And it comes full circle because he is the one who's representing JB now. And I'm in a Hyatt hotel room that smells like death. But what I wanted to say to everybody was this. Sometimes you talk to people and you tell them your opinions. I always say I only get paid for one thing, my opinion. That doesn't mean my opinion is always right. That doesn't mean I always have the wherewithal to say the right things. And one of the things about JB that was evident early on is he had a kind of like, I don't know what you'd call it, like, I don't know if it was a speech impediment, but it was something where he spoke in a way that it wasn't always clear. And so I'd be watching his set, and sometimes there were certain parts of his set that I didn't really understand. But I loved his comedy. And I reenacted one of his bits the other day, and I'm not going to do it here, to a T, something from 25 years ago that I still remember. And I used to go up to him and I used to say, JB, I think that, if you ever get a little extra money, you should do something, maybe go to a speech coach, do something like that to help get things a little bit different, a little bit clearer in your character and what you do. And honestly, I don't believe that he ever took that advice. And thank God he never took that advice, because he continued and he understood in his mind that this is what makes him an original. His voice is what makes him an original. If you know anything about stand-up comedy is like that game show, Name That Tune. If you are an extraordinary stand-up comic, your voice is the thing that you have that separates you from everybody else, along with your content. So if you're a guy who just has a normal voice, who it's just a regular voice, or you don't have the cadence or different things, chances are you're going to have less of a chance to make it. So I could play JB Smoove's voice, and literally in 3 seconds, you would know it's JB Smoove. I could play Chris Rock, and in 3 seconds, you would know it was Chris Rock. Chappelle, 3 seconds. And he remained using this persona that was sort of like it was like an inflated version of himself, an exaggerated version of himself. And because he stayed true to who he was and what he believed in, and he didn't care whether he was changing things a little bit to be part of the norm or to be a little bit easier castable in his own mind, more easily castable in his own mind, what he did was he stayed true to himself, and he said, hey, fuck it. I'm going to audition the way I am. I'm going to go out in the world the way I am. And I'm going to make a huge explosion on the scene the way I am, not the way somebody wants me to be or the way society wants me to be. And because of that, and staying true to himself, he came full circle, and starting with Def Jam, it's just a perpetual snowball of going down a mountain faster and faster and faster, gaining steam. And this guy works nonstop. And we're going to talk about that. He's done everything you can imagine in this business, from animation to shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which are amazing, to Saturday Night Live, to Last Comic Standing. He's hosted, he's acted, he's done films, voiceovers. Christ, he even voiced a Call of Duty. So if there's anything to garner from this, yes, there's going to be people in your life who tell you advice and give you advice. That doesn't mean that some of the advice you get or all of the advice isn't going to be wonderful advice. But if after the advice you get, like all the advice from every manager, agent, and lawyer that told me not to do this podcast, sometimes you have to sit back, really reflect, and think about what you are as an artist and what you want to be as an artist and how you want to move forward and what representation of yourself you want to show the world. And in the case of JB Smoove, he decided, hey, thank you, Barry, but I'm going to do it this way. And boy, oh boy, did it work. And I am so proud of him, and I'm so honored to be in his presence. So I think if there's anything to learn from today, listen, if you're a manager out there, don't be afraid to shit on other managers and make jokes and be happy and have fun with whatever it is. But don't be afraid also to take somebody aside and tell them that they're doing great work in what they're doing, because you're doing great work too. And instead of wondering and scheming, okay, how am I going to be more of a person that's not nice to everybody and not nice to people in my profession? And if it comes to being an artist like JB Smoove and you get advice, listen, I'm not saying don't take it, but really sit back in the fetal position in your house and think about it. Think about who you are as an artist, what's going to get you there. And if you believe what you're doing is going to get you there and somebody tells you it isn't, then just fight forward as hard as you can with your talent. And believe me, and your personality and your kindness and your generosity, and you'll have the kind of career that JB Smoove has. All right, welcome back to another episode of Industry Standard with me, Barry Katz. All of you who are still awake after that gut-wrenching cold open that basically, could somebody give Rick Dorfman some kind of a towel? Wipe him off. It's horrible. We can, last podcast I did, the manager actually lied down and fell asleep in the room, which was very, very important. Gave me a lot of confidence. Anyway, I'm going to introduce you. It's going to be long. Please, I hope you can handle it, and then we'll get into it. JB Smoove was born in Plymouth, North Carolina, and raised in the projects of Mount Vernon, New York. Smoove is a gifted writer, comedian, and actor who continues to entertain audiences all over the world with his unique brand of comedic funk. His breakout role on Curb Your Enthusiasm as Leon Black has firmly planted him as one of the best comedic actors today. Agreed. After launching his career on Russell Simmons' Def Jam with a monster set, he began really settling in the late 90s when he moved to Los Angeles and landed a recurring role on MTV's The Lyricist Lounge, which was a sketch show combining music and rap, a very innovative show, as well as featured guest spots on The Chris Rock Show and Premium Blend. This led to his first big feature film where he narrated and starred in the cult classic Pootie Tang, starring Lance Crowther in the lead role. Reunited with Rock, Smoove subsequently followed this up with a co-starring role opposite Adam Sandler in Mr. Deeds. After a season as a cast member on the sketch comedy program Cedric the Entertainer Presents, Smoove moved back to New York, where he landed a writing gig on NBC's Saturday Night Live, where he was called the King of Pitches. He later was a recipient of the 2007 Writers Guild Award for Best Comedy Variety Series for his work on the show. In the stand-up and acting world, Smoove has been featured on Tough Crowd, Jamie Foxx Presents, Laugh-A-Palooza, Saturday Night Live sketches, recurring spots on Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Everybody Hates Chris, Till Death, Ben to the Real Husbands of Hollywood, I love that show, and The Millers. He was seen as a host of NBC's Last Comic Standing as well, and the Comedy Central series Russell Simmons Presents, The Ruckus. Full circle, ladies and gentlemen, relationships. He shot his own one-hour stand-up special, How I Do's It, for the cable channel. Smoove's show, Four Courses with JB Smoove, is in its fourth season on the MSG network. On the big screen, he appeared in Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey, and the Farrelly Brothers directed comedy Hall Pass, as well as The Sitter with Jonah Hill, We Bought a Zoo featuring Matt Damon, and The Dictator opposite Sacha Baron Cohen, as well as Chris Rock's movie, which I love, Top 5, and the upcoming Barbershop 3 and Myers Christmas. Smoove's unique comedic voice has also been put to good use in animation, where he did voiceovers for roles in both Ice Age 4 and The Smurfs 2 on the big screen, and in TV shows such as American Dad, which is my kid's favorite show in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a guy who I love, everybody loves, and you're going to love. Please welcome JB Smoove.
What up, Barry? What's going on, man?
Are you still
BK, huh?
Are you still alive?
I'm still alive, brother. And you know what? Rick offered 20. I will give you a crisp $100 bill. short 10 bags, and also another 100 to change this room.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here, man. You know, and you are absolutely right. You know, sitting here as your guest and hearing my own, I never pat myself on the back or read my own hype or read my own bio. Someone else writes that for me. I don't read it. I don't. You know, I recognize the journey, but also I recognize that these are all mostly calculated and mostly just steps, man. You know, I'm one of those guys. You know, I'm cool with being. There's a half full glass, and there's a. You know, I'm cool being at that level where I can do a bunch of different things and throw a bunch of different things against the wall and enjoy it, man. Enjoy the moments that I can have with each project. You know, and I've been very lucky. You know, just hearing that, I've been very lucky because I got a chance to do what I do, and that's the one thing you want as an actor, as a comedian, is when they call you to do something, they like what you've done. So when you get there, you're not confused. They bring you there for a reason, and I've been blessed to get with some great producers, great directors, and and they bring me in to do exactly what they like about me, which is a blessing for any comedian, any actor to when they call you, you know why they called you. You're not getting there like, okay, you want me to do something totally different from what I do, or you want me to do what I do, and it's best to get that call that they want you to do what the hell you do. And then you can put 20% into it because you know exactly what they want. And I give them too much. I give them too much, so I always go by this notion of you give them too much, it's easy to pull back. When they say pull back a little bit, I know how to pull back. But if I come in low and they tell me to turn it up, I don't know how high to turn it up. And a lot of times you turn it up too high. Now they're like, damn, what the hell are you doing? Now you're going too high. Now you got to come back down again. So it's better to be high and turn it back a little bit than to be low and turn it up too damn high. You look like a goddamn idiot on the set. But this is all true, man. This is all great stuff to reprocess and give to someone else. That's always been my thing, man. I'm the guy that ate lunch with the interns when I'm on a set. I'm the guy that says hello, good morning to everyone. I'm the dude that pats an intern on the back. You know who those interns are now? I ate lunch with an intern on Pootie Tang. That dude works in some studio now. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And I saw him one day. He said, you know what, JB? Thank you. When I was an intern on Pootie Tang, or whatever it was, man, you patted me on the back every morning. You said hello to me. And I appreciate that, man. One time he even sat down and ate lunch with me. I said, man, what? We're all working together. It's not like I'm putting myself above anyone else, man.
That's so important. Oftentimes, you do a lot of personal appearance stuff with your artist, and you'll maybe appear at some city, at some theater or some arena or something like that, and the staff there will tell you inevitably about the people who were the nicest people in the world that hung out with everybody backstage, and they were huge stars. And then they tell you about the artist that do something called curtaining off. And I'll explain what curtaining off is in the theater and arena world. That's when, if you've ever been to an exhibition hall and you see all those poles with those curtains across them, and they go in 8 feet by 10 feet sections. Well, they put those all up against the wall with like a 3 feet walkway, all the way from the arena, all the way around, or a theater. The reason why they do that, so the artist never has to see anybody, never has to talk to anybody. And I don't ever want anybody I work with to be like that, and certainly you never were. And you will probably end up doing a movie at that movie studio, or wherever that guy is, because of that relationship.
Oh yeah. It's always been about building relationships, man. I like to plant seeds, man. I plant a lot of seeds, believe me, man. Just even a 3-minute conversation with someone, man, is worth a phone call. It could be 5 years later. It could be a year later. It could be 10 years later. You'd be surprised, man, how things come full circle, and I'm like that notion of, you go into the forest You know, sometimes if you don't know your way around, you'll drop popcorn on the ground as you go through the forest. You know, you can drop that popcorn to find your way out of the forest, or you can drop that popcorn at certain intervals in your life so you can come back and revisit those points in your life where you met someone, you drop popcorn right there, you met another person, drop popcorn right there, or a seed or whatever it is. But those are all just building blocks, man, to what we do. You know, and once I've learned that, you know, this comedy thing that we do is not just it's a gift, man. To me, it's a gift, and it's something that can be given away over and over again, and you have to be in it for the right reason. You know, I remember I met a guy years ago. He was like, "Man, he's at a comedy club, and we were just doing a show somewhere out of town." And the guy told me, I'm just in this for the ass. And I was like, damn. You know what I mean? I felt like...
Let's not talk about God.
I felt like slapping him. I'm just in it for the ass. I'm like, wow, man. You know, it just shows you that, you have to understand why you're in this, you know, and I truly enjoy giving joy to people. I truly enjoy, telling my story, man, because it really is a cool story. I'm just a country boy from North Carolina, man. You know, I survived a lot, I built a lot, you know, and I respect what I do. I respect everyone's craft. I respect everyone's journey. You know, I'm very, very conscious of what I want to do. So when you read that bio, you gotta understand also that, you know, I pick and choose exactly who I want in my life. I pick and choose exactly what projects I want to do. I've turned down so many things. You know why? Because I turn down things and I don't take everything because, you know, everything's not built for you. Some things just have to be given to somebody else. You know, if you can't get in there and give 20%, you know, why even take it? If you can't, if you feel like it's not you, why take it? Why waste your time? Why waste someone else's journey? You know, that's not just one journey, not just mine. There's a director there who's always wanted to direct. There's a producer there who always wanted to produce. There's another actor there who always wanted to do that role. Why, you know, I'm not greedy. You know, I'm very cautious, man. And that goes also with who I choose to rep me. You know, believe me, I fired 5 agents. You know why? Because if you don't work as hard as I work, or you don't hustle like I hustle, and you don't have, and I don't feel like you have my best interest, or I don't feel like I'm moving the way I want to move, or you don't match me. You don't match my movement, my vision. You got to go. That's just how it is. And I'm never afraid to pull the trigger. You know why? Because I know what the I do. I know how I'm going to do it. You know, I never panic. I never panic about anything, bro. When it comes, it's going to come. It's going to come how it's going to come, which is a great way to think. Everybody out there should really think about that. The thing is, the shit that's going to come for you is going to come in a form it's supposed to come, in a recognizable form. So your ass can recognize it and make the conscious decision if this shit is for me or if it's for somebody else.
I have a few questions for this.
Don't stop ducking knowledge, man.
Don't
get me started.
Tell me a project that you thought about really carefully, you analyzed it, you looked at it, you got different opinions from members of your team maybe. Some of them said, do it, you should do it, it's great. Some of them said, I don't think it's a good idea, whatever it was. Maybe they all said, don't do it. Maybe they said, do it, and you said, I'm not doing it. But tell us one project that you turned down that looking back on it, you think to yourself, maybe I should have done that one.
See, I don't count money. I count opportunities to make money.
But I'm not talking about money.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm leading you in now. I don't count the money. I count opportunities to make money. So when I turn something down, I'm turning it down creative. The creative's not right. If the creative's not right, I had a commercial. I turned down $250,000 for a campaign. I can't tell you the name.
I feel so good right now because a client of mine just turned down $250,000 for a campaign that probably worked one day, and I was like, well, you know, this product really isn't that great. You're probably right about that. But my God, you know, I think you'll be able to do this and nobody will ever know, but if you feel it's going to hurt your brand, then don't do it. I respect you one way or the other. I'm not going to, as a manager, I'm not going to, end up buying an island like David Copperfield in the Pacific from $25,000, and you're not going to buy a house for $250,000. So, but it's interesting you said that because I just went through that. Maybe it's the same campaign.
No, this is a few years ago. But I say that because, you have to understand that there is a process to everything, man. Maybe when I first started, I might have jumped on it. But now that I understand what I do and I understand the relationships.
Now, when you look back on that one opportunity, it was the $250,000 opportunity. It was a couple of years ago.
Right.
And you're present in the comedy world and the film and television world.
Yeah.
And obviously you know who did the campaign. Let's assume there wasn't any effect whatsoever. Nobody even remembers it 2 years later, and nobody even cares after you look back on it. If that's the case, do you still say, oh, well, maybe I could have done that one and put some college education money because nobody ever saw it? Or do you still think to yourself, well, there was a chance that somebody could have seen it, and I don't want to take that chance?
No, it's not even about someone seeing it. It's my own personal, my own personal, just respect for another project. If I feel like I'm not going to be able to give this, if I'm in a commercial campaign or if I'm in something, and consciously in my mind I know this is some BS, man. What the fuck am I doing here? Well, why am I even doing this stupid shit? I feel like I'm being fake with the producer. I'm being fake with the director. I'm being fake with everyone I'm working with in this with other actors. I'm not being real with it. I'm not even there. I might as well just cut my whole insides out and stand there like an empty body. Why even waste my own goddamn time? You know what I mean? Sometimes when you do that, it's not even about. I swear, man. It's always a balance between your financial and what makes goddamn sense. Whatever it is, it gotta make sense for you for your integrity. You know what I mean? I just don't like. I don't feel like someone should do something and not want to do it. You know what I mean? I had a guest on my show. I had a guest on my show, on my Four Courses show. Famous guy. He told me that he wanted to do my show. Oh my God. I'm gonna do it. I said, cool, great. He got to the show, sat his ass down at the Four Courses table, and didn't do the goddamn show. He didn't do the show. So I'm thinking to myself,
I don't understand.
I'm gonna tell you right now. If you say you're gonna do it, don't show up and not fucking do it. Meaning, don't show up and not do the show how the show is formatted. Don't just do something different. You were explained how the show goes. Don't do something totally different. Don't get there and disrupt the whole show. Where I gotta say cut. Fucking cut. The fuck you doing? You say you would do it. Why show up and not fucking do it? That's wasting my time. That's wasting your own goddamn time.
When you had that,
that's wasting the cameraman's time. The dude holding the goddamn boom. You fucking everybody up right now. If I gotta cut in the middle of a show and embarrass you in front of 4 other guests, come on, man. That's my whole thing. I don't show up and not do what the fuck I say I'm gonna do. If I say I'm gonna do it, guess what? I'm gonna show up and give you 200%. Because that's your vision. That's your shit. When I leave this room, you still holding it. You still holding this shit in your hand, ready to produce it and put it out. Why should I show up and fuck your shit up? Don't make any sense. And that goes across the board with anything. When I do stand-up, it's never about me. Never about me. I'm never in competition with other comedians. I'm in competition with the audience. It's about them, the people who paid the fucking money. It's about them having a good time and going home and being able to enjoy themselves. Never about who's first, who's last. It's never about who's competition. I'll never compete with other comedians. I compete with myself.
So this is great, JB. I tell you, this is great. Already I can tell you this is one of the greatest podcasts I've ever done. I can feel it. This is fantastic. You're the host of the show. You
Right.
probably created the show. And now you have somebody on the show who's somebody who's probably as well known or more well known than you. And you have to get the desired result you want from the show, and an obstacle has been thrown in your path, which this business always throws in your path, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle that to get your desired result from the show, or was it impossible to get that?
There's two ways to handle it. I handle it in the moment. There's three ways, matter of fact. I handle it in the moment. I'll put you to the side and handle it. Or I don't fuck with you no more. There's only three.
Well,
I'm very good.
I'm
very good at learning from my mistakes. You know what I mean? Here's what the fuck I do. This is a great tool for anybody to do. I have two phones, right? Here's what I do. I don't want to tell Rick this shit. Here's what I do on my phone. So I got two telephones, right? I got an iPhone, I got a Samsung. Here's what I do. My Samsung is my main phone. My iPhone is my other phone. You know, just in case my Samsung run out of power. But I don't carry the iPhone everywhere I go. I carry my Samsung. So here's what I do sometimes. If I'm about to do a project, or if something's f***ing with me, or I feel like, oh man, damn, I should have addressed that. You know what I do? I'll take my iPhone and I'll call my Samsung. I'll call my own self and leave myself a goddamn message. Sometimes it's a good message. Sometimes it's a fucked up message. Sometimes it's don't fuck with him no more. Or advice to yourself. And something cool about checking your message and it's you on your own goddamn phone telling you something cool, telling you something to avoid, telling you something to be conscious of. It's a really easy tool to use. There's nothing complicated about it. You know? Just call yourself once in a while. Sometimes you gotta talk to your goddamn self. You know what I mean? And sometimes talking to yourself allows you, it's a different thing when you hear yourself say it. And it's even different from talking in the mirror. It's different when you call yourself on the phone. You can save that message forever and revert back to it and remind yourself, oh shit, that's right. I don't fuck with you no more. It's a great tool to use. I swear, man, anybody can use that. Remember what it is. It just reminds you, because sometimes you forget. And sometimes you get caught up in the money. You know what? You forget, oh shit, I remember this guy. Like 5 years ago. I don't like this fucking guy's a fucking dick. And now you gotta remind yourself. And now you got the dick and you got the money. Do you fuck with the dick for the money? Or what? You gotta really, it's like, it's a deep, this business, man, is deep, brother. But I remain constant. I remain like, I'm just very comfortable, man, in my approach to things.
We have something in common, my friend. I leave myself messages.
You do?
I leave myself texts.
You have to.
All the time. And I update my contacts with the notes section.
Mm-hmm.
And I put in exactly what happened so I know what went down and how it went down. And so that's the way. So let's go back to the thing you said about the you've fired 5 agents.
Mm-hmm.
This is always a fascinating thing for a relationship between an artist and their manager when they go through situations where agencies change. For those of you out there who aren't familiar with the agency scene in Los Angeles, there's very few agencies for people of JB's caliber that are going to be able to have the access to the information and do the job. Honestly, if there's 5 of them that are really, really powerful, it's a miracle. And then there's another 5 that are great, but they don't have the financial resources that the other 5 have, or so, give or take. And so when he says that he's fired 5 agents, there's, when when you're a manager and somebody comes into play, they fire their manager, you have a shot. There's a lot of great managers, not a ton of them, but there's more so than managers. There's the management companies that are bigger if you want that. There's the people who are more boutique. They have a few people working with them. There's people like me who like to just work on my own with the artist and have my group of people working for me, but they're not other managers. And every artist, likes different things. But when it comes to agencies and you're in play, if you're an agent, you have like a 1 in 5 shot or 1 in 4 shot of getting the guy if you put a good meeting together. But if the artist fires somebody and then fires another person and then fires another person and they're available, there's not as many people out there to meet with, because you don't want to go back to an agency that you fired unless there's a great agent that switched agencies and he says it's new here now, give it a shot or whatever. But even so, that happens when you walk in the building as an artist. There's like a pit in your stomach because you remember walking in that building when the other people were there. And what happens when an artist fires an agent or an agency for a manager, it can create a stain on the manager and the management company, because the agency perceives that the manager has a strong relationship with the artist and can easily talk the artist out of firing them. And sometimes, no matter how much the manager communicates to the agent, hey, listen, JB's unhappy. This is what he wants. He wants this, 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 and this. He wants you to work a little bit harder. Listen, I'm going to talk to him. We're going to take another 3 months and do it, but I'm just giving you a warning. He's not happy. I've been in situations where I've warned an agency, I'd say 5 times. I've set up meetings with the artist that the artist didn't want to take to come in and let's reboot, let's do this. And then when the artist fired the agency, I was mud. I was like, when I ran into the agents, they treated me like I was some kind of like murderer. When I saw the agents and it came to the clients I had with that agency, there was tension, and very hard to overcome that with your team. How do you handle that with your manager, Rick, and in terms of letting somebody go? Do you have a process of giving the agencies warnings of what you feel you want before you do something? Or are you a guy like, if they don't know, if they don't understand the way I work, then I'm just going to move on and I'm going to tell Rick, give him a call, I'm out of here, and I'm going to the next meeting?
Well, I got lucky. I met Rick when he worked for New York Entertainment.
Which New York Entertainment was a company that I owned that booked colleges and clubs across the country.
So, our relationship goes way deeper than just a business relationship. And I got lucky to have someone like Rick who understands, who's not just my manager, who's also my friend. So we have to be on the same page. We'll talk about it, we'll sit there, but a lot of times we're on the same page, meaning that we'll notice lax work. We'll notice, all these, we'll just recognize things that are happening in the moment. Whether I bring it up or whether Rick brings it up, we have to come to a conclusion. But we also have to understand that, okay, if we do this, we can expect X, Y, Z. And I completely understand the fact that he is he's going to be the catalyst. He's the one that has to talk to them, but at the same time, we both have to understand that, okay, if we get rid of the agent, it's going to be a time where we got to find a new agent, but at the same time, here's the great thing about having a great manager. My manager, Rick, is a hustler. He hustles. You understand? We went stretches where we didn't have an agent. We just like, because it was a good process, but at certain times you do need an agent. But, also, I'm not saying that, I'm not telling anybody not to get an agent. I'm not telling anybody to get an agent. But there's unique situations and unique scenarios for everybody. And it's not, it's it's different for everybody. You really have to have a communication with your manager, a communication with yourself, and understand, even if there's a break in the relationship with an agent, you have to maintain your manager-client relationship so that you're both on the same page. You both understand that it's going to be it's going to be a little lag here because we have to decide who's going to be the next agent, if there's going to be a next agent right now. And sometimes you have enough going on where you don't need one immediately. You got a chance to fill them out, to meet a few people, see if they even fit what you want to do. And that's a good thing about having a great manager is we're on the same page. You got to be on the same page. You have to be on the same page. And it's going to help you in the long term to understand each other and to definitely understand what the long-term goals are here. Nothing is never a sprint. For me, it's always a marathon. It's always pace yourself and figure it out. Because once you commit to something else, you're locked in. You're locked in again. It's like getting a lease. You know what I mean? On a car, it's like, damn it, I like the car, but I didn't get in the goddamn car and see if I'm tall. I didn't get in the car, put the seat back and make sure my goddamn knees ain't touching the steering wheel. But why the fuck did I buy this car and not sit in the goddamn seat? You know what I mean? And sometimes that's the same thing when you get in a publicist. They have to do a fucking job. And a lot of them, we fired 3 goddamn publicists because these bastards don't know what the fuck they're doing. You right, Rick? You gotta let them go. We will fire. Yo, you just got to do what you got to do, man. Do never be afraid to stand up for your goddamn self, man. You just can't do it. There's certain shit you can't do, man. You gotta take that shit home with you. You gotta take that shit home with you and live with it. And why live with something that you don't like? And go home with it and bring it home to your home environment, your sanctuary, and have that shit in your brain all day. Ignoring your wife and shit, kids hate you. You're bringing that shit home. That's stupid. You know what I mean? I know you brought terrible shit home with you in your head. I know you have. You have to. You have to bring it home with you like shit.
Do you live with me?
I just know. I just know that I'm better off not dealing with that. I'm better off. I want to go home. I want to watch TV. I want to relax my brain outside of what the hell I do.
Does it bother you that honestly that you love what you do so much, but you're working in a profession where within what you love so much, in between what you love so much, there's so much horror, nastiness, and bullshit you have to do. Doesn't it get you down?
I'm Teflon, baby. I am the most Teflon person you're going to ever see in your life. It doesn't matter what anybody says to me. I'm invincible. I'm invincible. I'm undefeated. You know why? Because the only person I'm fighting is my goddamn self. I'm undefeated. You have to have that mind. You have to have that mind that you know what you're going to do. As long as you know what you're going to put into something, you can't lose. You can't lose. I use this football analogy all the time. I always say, as long as I can stand at the 50-yard line, right? I don't care. I don't got to score all the time. I'll throw a few bombs. You know what I mean? I'll throw an interception here and there. But as long as you don't push me backwards, as long as you don't score on me, I can't lose.
What about if you deflate the footballs?
Yeah, it's Tom Brady, that shit. but you know what I mean? It's just that. That's the only way I can see it, man. As long as if I can stay in the middle of at the 50-yard line, as long as there's an opportunity to score, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about certain jobs that you've had where you gave everything you had. Mm-hmm. Everything you had.
Right.
And you put your heart and soul into it. And somebody said to you, in your management office, maybe, Rick, listen, I don't know how to tell you this. We got the letter. They're not they're not going to pick up your option.
Here's what it is.
How do you feel about that when you give everything you have? You know you're killing it. You know you're exceeding everything, yet somebody in a position of power or a group of people where you don't have control over says, you know what? You're not right for our place anymore.
Here's what I think. As long as initially you do it for the right reason, it's going to pay off. When I went to SNL, right, I had stuff going on in LA. You know, I auditioned for cast. You know, I didn't get cast. You know, I did make it to the NBC test. You know.
Who else tested with you that got on the show?
Finesse Mitchell and Kenny Thompson.
So those two got it.
Those two got it. But we were the last three at NBC. So, which is cool, you know.
What do you think you didn't do in the test that they did?
I just think there was a different route for me to go. I'll tell you why. Even though I didn't get it, I went home. A week later, I got a call from Lorne Michaels saying, you did great.
And just so you know, Lorne Michaels rarely calls anybody up on the phone as an artist who's tested for a show. When you test for a show at SNL and you get off that stage at 30 Rock where the host introduced the band, where they do all the tests, and you walk off, probably 1 out of 100 times does Lorne walk over to you and shake your hand and say, nice job.
Right.
Because he keeps everything the way it is. So when he makes a call like that, that means something.
Exactly. So you got to take that to heart. So I appreciated the call, you know. At the same time, I had to think, damn, I got a few things I'm working on here, you know, and I had opportunities in LA for different shows and that kind of stuff. So I had to put things to the side.
What does he say on the call?
Oh, he calls and says, you know, hey, JB, you know, we really loved what you did, but we're going to go in a different direction. And he said, but, you know, we think you're great. Would you consider coming in as a writer? And I said, wow. I said, you know what? Give me a day. Let me I said, it's a great opportunity. Because here's the thing I did. I put this into the universe. A few years earlier, I told myself, because I was doing stuff in LA, I moved to LA. So I said, if I could do the same thing I'm doing here in New York, I would take it. And I told myself that because I love New York. But if I can do exactly what I'm doing here in LA and have an opportunity in New York, I would take it. So when he called me, you know, and he asked me if I wanted to come in as a writer, then, you know, I thought about it for one day. I talked about it with my fiance, and I said, you know what? Let me think about this. Now, here's my thinking. It's the only way I know how to do it. My thinking is, the first thing I thought about was, okay, I'm not a writer. I'm a comedian. I said, evidently they like something that I do. I said, but there is opportunity to get into the system, and who knows, maybe I'll move up. I'll put my hustle on, and maybe I'll move up to cast member. But at the same time, I also said, you know what? This is going to look great on my resume. That's the bottom line. I said, this is going to open more doors later on. This is another seed being planted. I said, I could sacrifice a few years, plant these seeds, and see what comes from it. So I said, all right. So I got back in contact with them. I said, cool, I'll do it. When I tell you I had to, immediately, I had just signed a new lease on my condo. I had to let that go. I had to pack everything up. I had to leave. They had to finish packing it. They had to transport all my stuff back to New York. And here's my thing. When I got there, I got lucky. I got there.
There's a lot of luckies, JB, in these stories. I don't think it's luck.
I use luck as opportunity came. But I had to capitalize on the opportunity. Okay? So when I say I got there, you know, it was definitely a fish out of water because I was sitting there like, wow, this might be the biggest thing I've done. I mean, I was on TV shows, I was on the Fox show, sketch show with Cedric. I'd done a few things before I got there. But still, the Lyricist Lounge and all that other stuff, Chris Rock show. But this was this was like, someone who loved SNL, who really was a big fan of the show growing up. So I was sitting there like, wow, I'm gonna have my own office. Wow, I'm gonna be here writing jokes on SNL. Like, wow. So I got in there, I started giving everybody nicknames. I was being JB. And that's the only way I know how to do it. I come in, I made it comfortable for myself. I created this little void, this little area of myself where people knew that I'm this kind of guy. So I came in there, but at the same time, here's what I did. I got there, instead of me being locked in, because I knew I had all these different things that I do, I'm not just a writer. I came in, I did warm up for 2 years. I was there. I was in monologues, right? I was a writer on the show. And Conan O'Brien was still at NBC downstairs. They called me upstairs. They found out I was a writer upstairs. They knew I was a comedian actor, not just a writer. They called me. I did Conan O'Brien maybe 11, 12 times while I'm working at SNL behind the desk as a writer. I would get in the elevator. They would call Lauren. Lauren would say, fine. I would get in the elevator, go down to Conan's studio, do a sketch in front of the camera, get back in the elevator, take my ass back in the elevator, back to my office, and finish typing, which was amazing. So that means I had 4 checks. I had 4 checks when I worked there. 4 checks, which was great.
Explain the 4 checks.
Conan O'Brien show.
Which, by the way, when you do Conan O'Brien and you do a sketch on the show, you get paid this minimum amount.
Yeah.
It changes every, let's say it's $976.50.
Right.
But the great thing about it is they also re-air Conan sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, man.
So then you get another check. And then sometimes they repeat the show during an off week and you get another check. And it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It's the gift, man. And visibility.
Yeah.
I was in sketches here and there. They put me in stuff here and there. I did some monologue stuff, which was great. Wrote on the show.
What are the other 3 checks?
Oh, the big checks are as a writer, that's 1 check. If you're doing warm up, I get another check. If I'm in a monologue, whatever it is, and Conan O'Brien, that's 4 checks. Which is great, But at the same time, I'm not trying to get rich. I'm just being utilized, and I'm happy to be utilized in that form.
But in the back of your mind, if I know you correctly, you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to write these sketches for everybody. But then, maybe after the 10th week or the 10th episode, I'm going to sneak in a character that's me in this sketch with these guys. When was the first time you got on in a sketch that you wrote as a character that you wrote?
I didn't.
I thought you did some little guest appearances in some
sketches.
Little
guest appearances, but it's minimal stuff. If it's not my actual voice, and it's not, because here's what happens when you're a comedian. When you write sketches as a comedian, sometimes you do, end up writing it in a way that only you can do it. And it's not on purpose, it's just how you write. You have a certain amount of energy you put into your sketch, into your dialogue, and you want it to project a certain way. So even when you write something, you're sitting at the table read like, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. More energy, more energy. You're sitting there damn near coaching, but you can't coach. But in your head, you're like, damn it. He didn't do it with enough energy. That's not how I wrote it. I wrote it for energy, energy, energy.
This is something that a lot of people on SNL go through, and it's a really hard thing because the way the read-throughs go, I don't want to go through the whole process of SNL again because I've done other episodes, but let's just take Tuesdays to Wednesdays. Tuesday, you are writing all day long and all night into the wee hours of the morning, and that you can turn in your sketches up to like 4 in the morning or sometimes 5 in the morning, and you turn them in, your name is on whatever. And then the next day you find out what sketches are going to be read at the table. And there's a big read through at the table. And this table at SNL is probably the size of this hotel room.
Yeah.
And it holds about 50 people around the whole edges of the table. Lorne is at the head of the table, and sitting next to him is the guest that week. And if there's a musical artist doing a sketch, sometimes they'll ask them to come in and do that. And then on the periphery are the younger writers, and there's also a guy who plays a piano in the corner if there's a musical sketch or something like that. And everybody's there because they want their sketch to get on.
Man.
They want their main sketch to get on. JB writes a sketch, and maybe he writes a sketch for one of the cast members, but that cast member has 3 other sketches that people have written for him, and he has his favorites. And maybe JB's sketch isn't his favorite. Maybe it's his 3rd favorite. And maybe he wants to make sure that Lorne doesn't pick that one, but he doesn't want to hurt JB's feelings. So he gives everything he has to the sketch that he thinks is going to be the best character to get on. And then when JB's sketch goes on, no matter how much he's prepared these people for it, they go on and they give it little or no effort, like the guy at your show on MSG. And then you're watching as you've worked all week long for like 30 hours, and one guy can just take down your sketch to where it's never going to get on. And this is the hurtful thing. The way Lorne and Marcy and all the producers in the show works, it's very hard to get a sketch on again the next week if you've read it at the table and it gets selected. It goes to dress rehearsal and then it gets cut. It's very hard to get it back on. It's even hard if your sketch gets to the show that airs and then it gets cut for time. A lot of times you can't go and repitch because you got to repitch at that table with 50 people again, and they have their vision of what they want. So how do you handle it when you perceive that they don't put the effort into your sketch that they put into another sketch that's better for them?
Well, there's a balance of it. You know, here's how I see it when I'm working somewhere like that. I have to take into consideration, okay, I'm a new writer, you know. I'm coming in as a comedian who already has a voice, who already has a character, who already has this presence already. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best writer when I was there because I was brand new, trying it out. It was something that I wanted to add to my resume. But at the same time, I was a great pitch guy. They called me the king of the pitch when I was there. So thousands, amazing ideas. You know, I had this little black book, JB's black book, loaded with goodies. You know, amazing ideas that I thought were really good. Good enough to, because I was a new writer, good enough to get with the more experienced veteran writers and bring it to life. Because I think there was some amazing opportunities to do some amazing sketches. You know, but again, you don't know, you don't know how to feel. Of course, everybody wants their stuff on. You know, so as a new writer, what I would do is I would piggyback with people. You know, I would get with, you know, some of the cast members. I would get with some of the veteran writers. I would take note. I would make sure I understood the process. You know, I didn't get a lot of stuff on, but I was there 3 seasons. I mean, how many people can say that? You know, I've seen people fired around me, people that come back. I'm like, wow, I'm still here. There's something about me they love.
All right, but what happened after 3 years? Obviously, when you're at SNL, another thing I want to share, which I think is true. It's like I hope I'm okay saying this. It's like a kind of relationship you have that just, there's the greatest things in the world. It's like being with a woman who's just the smartest, most beautiful woman in the world. She just walks into a room and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm with this woman. This is so great. And then you get home and she has a temper tantrum. She slaps you across the face. She tells you things about yourself that you don't want to hear. She shines a mirror up to you and shows you what the world is like, and you just want her to be there, like what the relationship you have, but there's these things behind the scenes that you see with this girl that no one sees, and it hurts you. And sometimes you want to break up with her, but you can't, because when you go out in public and you're around and it's like, God, everybody thinks she's the smartest, most beautiful, wonderful person in the world, and she is, but I know the other side. And that's what SNL is like. So how did it finally end?
Well, here's how I see endings. Sometimes things, whether you recognize it or not, end up being mutual. Sometimes, and you got to look back on things on the order of things. You got to look back on it for that reason. I can't look back on it as a bad thing because so much good came from me not being renewed in my fourth season. So I can only say from dealing with it, from being there, I can almost say thank God I didn't get re-signed because of what was waiting for me already. And I say that because, a lot of things had to happen in my last season. I knew already I wasn't going back. I knew it was going to happen. Number one is Rick knows we had to fire the agent, and our agent handled a lot of people on the show. So it was one of those things where what might happen. I said, yeah, I know it might happen, but you know what? It's all good. We'll see what happens when the smoke clears. That's always my thing. We knew it was a possibility. So, here's the thing. Why would an agent, who you fire, fight for you to be on a show that they handle a lot of people on?
They don't.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, they may fight against you.
Now, think about this. Right. Now, I could have said, nah, I'm going to keep my agent. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to sit here and just deal with this. But I'm JB Smoove. I'm not JB Smoove writer. I'm JB Smoove who could be in front of the camera. I'm JB Smoove who's a stand-up comedian. I'm JB Smoove who loves doing projects. This, I already said in my mind before I took the job, it's going to look great on my resume. Guess what? It's on my resume whether I do it a year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. It's on my goddamn resume. Firing the agent, Rick and I knew what's going to happen. What's going to happen is, like you said, they're not going to fight to keep me on the goddamn show. Why? Number one, they don't get. They weren't even getting paid off my SNL.
Why?
Because I got SNL. Me and Rick.
When you didn't have an agent.
When Rick came on board, we didn't have it. I didn't have an agent.
That's happened to me so many times.
I didn't have an agent. My original manager, and then leading into Rick, I didn't have it. We just coasted. We were good. We didn't need it. Had a fucking job. It was cool. And Rick was a hustler, and we were good. So when you end up getting a damn agent who's not getting paid off of your checks anyway, my 4 goddamn checks, that's one strike already. 2, if I fire your ass, you ain't gonna fight for me to stay on the goddamn show. You ain't even getting paid off of me on the show. So firing them, we already knew that it wasn't gonna be. It's gonna be a situation. So that being said, you gotta reorganize. Rick set up a new meeting with a new agent. Everything just had to go a certain way. And what ends up happening is you end up making chess moves. This is all chess moves, but conscious chess moves, But at the same time, you got to know what the you do. You got to know what you do. You got to know who has your back. You got to know all these things beforehand. You know what I mean? It's like this. It's like you go to school. You got a goddamn bully. Every day he's you up. But you got a big brother. Your big brother will anybody up. So you know what? If this gets out of hand, I'm making my big brother him up. You know what I mean? You know you got your big brother in your back pocket. You don't want to pull it out yet. You want to see if it calms down a little bit. I got my big brother him up, so I'm good. I'm going to see how far he goes with this bullshit every day for me. And one day you're going to pull that big brother out your back pocket and your big brother's going to show up at the school and that little dude up. You know what I mean? That's what this shit is. knowing you got somebody that got your goddamn back, I'm gonna put his dukes up a little bit, but knowing that you in it together. So that's what comes about when things. I always say this: when things go away, guess what? It allows to come in. If shit don't go away, it can't get in. It can't get in. You know what I'm saying? It just can't get the in. Shit gotta go away.
One of the things you said was, I'm going to have SNL on my resume if I do it 1 year or if I do it 3 years. One of my favorite stories, I think, was Mick Jagger did the Ed Sullivan Show. And Rolling Stones trashed the entire dressing room, everything. And the manager runs up after the show with kids, hundreds, thousands of kids screaming, successful performance of Rolling Stones. And the manager runs up to Mick Jagger and he said, "What the fuck did you do? You trashed the whole dressing room. I mean, the producer just came up to me and said that you're never going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show again." And he looked at his manager and he said, "We've already been on the Ed Sullivan." All right, let's go way back. Way back to Mount Vernon. In the projects, tell me what it was like growing up there. Tell me what the story was with your mom and dad, family issues, what was going on, and how you got through that, and what was your first inspiration in getting into the entertainment business and comedy?
Well, I've always loved, laughter. I've always loved comedy. I'm gonna tell you something. When I was a kid, man, I used to almost get I used to feel so bad for people. And I used to be, I'm gonna say depressed, but I wanted to do something about how people were treated, or I would take news weird as a kid. Damn, I would think this, even as a kid, I would be like, damn, because I loved I was the guy that went to parties, and I would make sure everybody had a good time. Even if I had to do it myself. And growing up, I always loved comedy. I always made people laugh. But I had a funny household. Everybody in my family was funny. My mom was funny. My mom was so damn funny that right now, all her friends, my mom was in her 70s. Everybody, they just her sarcasm is so goddamn funny that people it's nothing funnier than old people who hate each other. That's the funniest shit to see. Oh my God, my mom said some of the craziest shit, and I laughed my ass off, man. And to see old people argue with each other or get offended, and she's just joking around with them, then they always take it seriously. And she's so damn funny. But everybody in my family's funny. When I go to North Carolina to my family reunion, when I tell you, man, you cannot get a word in edgewise. Everybody's laughing, talking, and loud. They're just if you get in that room, it's like a parade. It's it's crazy. You got to find your spots and get in there, because everybody, I think anybody in my family could have been a comedian. I think 60% of the people in my family could have took this turn and done what I do. That's how funny they are. Naturally funny.
But how do you grow up in a place where you look around and there's kids you're playing with, and then the next day you look around and where's Johnny? He got dumped.
But here's the thing about the projects about wherever the projects are you live. Mine just happened to be in Mount Vernon. Here's the thing about it. It is absolutely, I wouldn't trade it for the world, only because I have some amazing friends. I'm still friends with everybody who I grew up with. I mean, real friends. These are my brothers almost, brothers and sisters really, because of course with any neighborhood or any area of a city that you live in, especially the projects, you're gonna see terrible stories. I lost a lot of friends growing up, but also have so many friends that it kind of outweighs the bad shit. Of course, when we get together, we'll bring a bad story up once in a while, but it just outweighs all the things you went through, which the comedic part shines the brightest when it's the darkest. You understand? So when it's bleak and look crazy, and you can actually have a take on something that's funny and fun, and it takes your mind away from the crazy things that you've been through or whatever it is. That's the bright spot that I look back on all the time. I definitely honed my skills in my building, honed my skills at my family reunion. But I was a kid that, my family was always funny. My mom had a collection of Richard Pryor, collection of Red Fox, collection of Bill Cosby, and every time they would go to work, I would come home from school, I would play the records. I would sit there and be dying laughing. Because here's what happened. They became party albums. So when your mom sent you to bed, and they're entertaining in the living room, you're in the bed, but you can still hear Richard Pryor on the record player. And they laughing their asses off. And you're like, damn, that was funny. Half the shit you don't understand because, you're just a kid. But you can hear Richard Pryor while your door's about to go to sleep in the background, faintly. So me, I became a big comedy fan. And not just a fan of comedians, I became a fan of comedic actors also.
Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too.
So for me, growing up, became this thing where, I was inspired by comedic actors, by comedians. I'm gonna tell you something funny. I went to my, this is how I wanted to make sure people had a good time. And that's what a comedian does. A comedian gives a piece of himself every time he gets on that stage. But people don't understand that. That a comedian actually, no matter how he feels, what's going on in his head, what just happened in his family, what happened in his life, he goes on that stage and he still gives a piece of himself every time he hits that stage and grabs that microphone. You will never know the shit that goes on in his head. It's like two sides of the brain. One side of the brain is mourning something, the other side of the brain is willing to give you all he has on stage. And, and I tell people all the time, this is what we do. A lot of people, they are in it for the right reasons, like we talked about. I remember this is the moment I remember the most, because I went to a Halloween party at my high school. I might have been in 10th grade, maybe. And the TV show The Gong Show was on, the original Gong Show. And had this guy named The Unknown Comic, right? So
was that Murray Langston?
I forgot his name. Yeah, I forgot his name. The original Unknown Comic. And let me tell you something, man.
I just want to say for the audience who doesn't remember, isn't as old as I am, the Unknown Comic was an incredible character that has never been seen before or since. It was a guy who had a bag over his head, cutouts for the eyes and the mouth, and he would do comedy with a bag over his head. You didn't know who he was.
So I go to my Halloween party. I told my friends, look, I'm going as the unknown comic. I went to a thrift store. I found a jacket. I found a Zach jacket, everything. I put some high water pants on, had some shoes on, and I'm gonna tell you something. I got a bag, cut the eyes out the mouth. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I told my buddies, look, we can't hang out tonight. Because if I walk with you guys in there, they don't know it's me. I said, so you guys go have a good time. I'm going solo tonight. When I tell you I went to that party and I turned that party out, man. Nobody knew who the fuck I was. I was dancing on tables. I was fucking knocking drinks out of hands. I was dancing around with the freaking hot waters on, with the freaking bag on my head. Nobody knew it was me, man. Nobody fucking knew. To this day, I left there with the bag. I came with the bag on and left with the bag on. Every time someone tried to pull the bag off, I would pull it back down. And I would just run away. I would just run through the party. And I'm telling you something, man. That was the most amazing shit ever. And after that moment, I said, holy shit. Wow, I can do this shit. I just fucking made everybody laugh their asses off. And they had a good damn time. Nobody knew it was me. But, not till later people found out it was me. But the amazing part was, I did it because I wanted to make sure people had a great time. And that goes back to doing shit for the right reason. Those fucking pants was tight as fuck on my nuts. You feel me? I mean, I did it for the good reason of having a great time. You know how hard it is to wear a fucking bag all night? 3 hours with a fucking bag on your head?
That's what I wear.
Around the mouth part got wet and shit. I was sitting there like the bag started sagging a little bit. But it was great. It was freaking amazing that, we can, that we can sacrifice ourselves and give it up, And that was the same. And I'll tell you something. And that was around the time that I lost my dad. I lost my father at 15. So it's just like, you go through things, of course, man. And that took a turn because when you lose your dad at 14, 15 years old, and you're the oldest, you got to take over. You become that man in the house, So I had to, I stayed out of trouble. I never been arrested, never been in trouble before. So for me,
what's the worst thing that happened to you in the projects? The worst thing, the worst story that you remember like really took you and your mind and your soul and your body in a different direction and said to yourself, I don't want to be here. I want to get out of here and I want to go and move on.
Here's the thing. Not only was I from Mount Vernon, I'm from New York. So I went, we would go downtown to parties, come home 5 in the morning on a freaking train, all the way, the 2 train, all the way from freaking Times Square, all the way back up to Mount Vernon, the last stop, walk, we would go to parties where we had to get off the train and walk through bad neighborhoods. I mean, you name it, man. I have seen it. Back when we had the big radios, we had guns put in our face. Give me the radio. And you just fucking give them the big box. And you just turn around and walk away.
Now, one of the interesting things for me, because obviously I'm a large white Jewish man from a white neighborhood. One of the things that when I sit across from you and you're an African-American man and you say, hey, we used to walk through bad neighborhoods, I naturally just thought that if your skin was black and you walked through a bad neighborhood, that you got a get out of jail free pass. Your own people weren't putting a gun to your head, taking your boombox.
But at the same time, I realized, I've seen a lot. Whether it's walking to my own neighborhood or walking to a white neighborhood.
What's the worst thing you've seen in your lifetime?
Oh, shit. I had a friend of mine, get thrown off a roof, 10-story building. He fell right in front of my window. Boom, hit the ground. And I had just seen the dude about an hour earlier up the street at the store. I just seen him. Hit the grass. Boom. But at the same time, I've seen a little bit of everything, man. So, I mean, you take these things, but if you allow everything to affect you, it's got to affect you So you're conscious of your environment and you're conscious of things. But I consciously, I won't use the word lucky, I consciously stayed out of trouble, remained a certain kind of person.
But why and how did you remain that kind of person and other people around you, possibly even some of your family members, didn't? What was it about you, that something inside you that said, I know what I have to do, but the other people who seemed like they had a mind and a heart and a soul couldn't get out?
Some of my friends were actively, certain kind of people. It also goes by your household also. That's for anybody. Of course, a great family environment is always great. Support system is always great. Understanding, responsibility is always great, and even before my dad died, I still had responsibility. We still had a funny household. Everything was still great. But we had some amazing families in Mount Vernon. Amazing families who stood up for each other. Mount Vernon I always call Mount Vernon the biggest small town in the world, because we had so many amazing people come out of Mount Vernon, from Denzel Washington to Art Carney to Dick Clark to myself, and so many amazing people lived in Mount Vernon and came from Mount Vernon, and it was a city that had a lot of pride, a lot of heart. So even in the bad times, there was so much great things going on in the city. It was amazing. But at the same time, you deal with things as they arise, and sometimes things, so it depends how it affects you. I remember when I was a kid, we had two parts of town. One part was, the south side. One part was the north side. The Fleetwood area. Now the Fleetwood area was mostly white. The south side, was mostly black. Although we had people living everywhere, but as a kid, I remember losing a friend of mine. He was really like my distant cousin in like a gang related fight. And back then everybody had gangs. It was so weird. It was like 20 gangs going on. It was like everywhere. It was gangs in the Bronx. The Mount Vernon bordered the Bronx, so the Bronx guys would come over to Mount Vernon and do stuff and go back to the Bronx. It was always something going on. But at the same time, there's things that happen to you, and you sit there like, wow, and it tests your faith in humanity and your faith in things. But it also, some things happen that change you, and like I remember one time, because Fleetwood was a white part of Mount Vernon. I remember one time I forgot what, I came from school. My school was right in, just about in Fleetwood, my middle school. And I remember I was walking down the street one day, and I knew, climates were different when we were growing up. You're talking about, this is a different climate. The early 80s, late 70s. So when you come home from school, it's like, damn. I remember I was walking home from school, and I was in the Fleetwood area, and I knew it was one of those areas where you either wanted to be seen or you didn't want to be seen, because when you're out of your own neighborhood, it's different. And growing up as a black kid growing up, things happen to you that you got to actually look at like, damn. I look back on it now, wondering if things would have been different had I done something different. So I'm walking down the street, and this old white woman. She was really old. She must have been about 80 years old. She trips and falls, and her head hit the ground, and there's blood pouring from her head. So I see her fall. I see the blood pouring out of her head, and here's how conscious you have to be as when different climates. I wish it wasn't like this in the world, but I looked at her, and I looked around where I was at, and I said, holy shit, this lady just fell. But I'm thinking like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong neighborhood. So I'm thinking like, shit, if I bend down to help her, it's very possible they might think I knocked her on the ground, and a fucking person sitting there. I'm like, and as a 13-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, I said, I just stood there for a second, and then I heard someone else say, "Oh my gosh, he fell," and I kind of like was kind of relieved because it was like I was on this balance of, oh shit, do I run over here and try to help her, but at the same time I said, they might think I knocked her on the ground and try to get her first. So, and I imagine myself, I said, what if I had helped her? And what if, now, I don't use luck a lot, but what if I had been down and tried to help her? And someone ran over and said, oh my God, he knocked her on the ground. He's taking her purse. And my ass would have been in the detention center some way. How can I be sitting here right now as JB Smoove, the free of mind JB? I might be something different. And this thing happens, I'm sure it happens a lot of times, in some way, some shape or form. But that's where the balance of conscious thinking and luck come in, because I don't know what would have happened. But I was lucky that someone else was coming down the street and saw her fall. But I was nervous. And this coming from a climate of, I remember standing on the corner one time, this is crazy, and we were all we would ride bikes, and we would ride our bikes everywhere. We would ride up to your neighborhood, Rick. We just rode our bikes everywhere. Because you had the trails, all those trails next to the highway. We would ride everywhere. And one time, we were standing, this is how you have to be sometimes. Sometimes, a good one is just a fucking good one. It doesn't matter if it's terrible or what. But we stopped on a corner, right? This is the most funniest, terrible shit that ever happened. We were standing on the corner, like 10 of us on our bicycles, trying to decide which way we wanted to go. And this fucking car load of white guys rolled by, and one guy leaned out the window and said, hey, Africa's that way, right? Because we were all like pointing, like, we want to go this way or this way. And the guy said, Africa's that way. Let me tell you something. That motherfucker turned the corner and zoomed away. We sat there for a second and we started fucking dying laughing. You know why? It was fucked up. But goddamn it, we can't change shit about it. He got us. He fucking got us with our fucking mouth open too. You know what I mean? But sometimes shit you can't change, you got to laugh at the shit. He fucking got us. To this day, we bring that shit up. That's the funniest shit ever. It's the most funniest, terrible shit ever, man. Africa's that way. We said, fucking got us. God damn it. Funniest shit ever. But it's not that you, I always believe in, as long as you're conscious of shit, you can make the decisions of how to deal with it. And that's with anything. That's with business. That's with your life. So all this stuff, laughing at that shit, I wasn't a comedian then. I was a fucking kid. But laughing at that let me know that there's a lot of shit I can't change. There's a lot of shit I can change. And if I can make a few people happy and enjoy what the I do, it's all going to be worth it one day.
Let's talk about something you couldn't change. Take me back to the day your dad passed away. And take me through that day for you.
Oh yeah, man. That's a hard one, man. I mean, when you see a guy works hard, and you know, my dad was like a man dad, like a man's man dad. Meaning, you know, like I didn't like fishing. My middle brother Floyd, who was also a comic now, Pink Floyd is his name. He actually, my dad loved to hunt. So his that happened in my house. He would go hunting. We lived in Mount Vernon, which is just outside of the Bronx, which is part of New York City. My father would go upstate New York. They would go hunting. Man, on any given day, we would walk in the house. My dad would have a squirrel, wild squirrel cut open on the floor with newspaper, or wild turkey, rabbits and shit, 4 rabbits on the ground. He's cutting them. He had the whole living room papered, and he'll cut a fucking rabbit open. He'll come back with a deer thigh, like some weird shit. Like he was really into, because from North Carolina, you hunt all the time. You hunt, you do cool stuff like that. He would come home. There'll be a bucket of fish, like amazing fisherman. He just loved that kind of shit. So for us, he treated us like, I mean, we were really like boys. We like, my dad was like, he was damn near the Pied Piper. You know, so I mean, like 4th of July, my dad would work downtown. He would come home. He would always make sure we had shit. Like, even when we didn't have much. You know, I would find out stuff about my dad, you know, but thinking about it now. You know, how he wanted to make sure we always had stuff. I lived in the projects, but we always had cool stuff. I mean, really had cool stuff. Like, I was always the first, like he would bring home a freaking shopping bag full of fireworks. Every 4th of July, man. It never failed. Every time. We would sit there like, damn, it's 4th of July today. My dad would walk in the door from work with 2 shopping bags full of fireworks. All kind of shit. Bottle rockets and goddamn, like, chasers and all kind of crazy stuff, man, would be in that bag. Bricks, even though the firework, the firecracker brick, where you put the whole brick on the ground, you light it, and it pops for like 10 minutes. We had all the good stuff. So, but he, you know, he had diabetes. So he would have his bouts here and there. You know, he took insulin every day for his diabetes. But he also worked very hard. So anytime you have, you know, and he's talking about years ago. So now it's a little different. They have different medications and stuff like that. But back then, you know, to see him go to work every day, but also to see him having to take an insulin shot every day, you know, in the bathroom before he goes to work, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It was you know, you didn't understand it until now. Now that I'm a father, I kind of understand the sacrifice that you have to make for your kids. You know, I remember when there was this place called The Associates. I didn't know what the Associates was until years later. So around holiday time, I know how hard my father worked, you know, but around the holiday time, I remember he had this, like I went with him one time to this place, and we sat we sat in front of this desk. There was a guy behind the desk, and my dad had to fill paperwork out and all this kind of stuff. And I never knew what the it was until one day, like years later, I found out that the Associates was actually a loan company. So every holiday, my dad would if he had to pay all the bills and all the stuff he had to do, my dad would actually go and borrow money from the Associates, which was a company, and make sure we had the most amazing Christmas every year. He would make sure our fucking tree was loaded with goodies. You know, we always had gifts, we always had cool stuff, but then he would pay it back over the year, and then every Christmas he would do it again. Just to make sure we had, you know, a table full of food and toys and stuff that we could use. So when my dad, you know, went into a diabetic coma and he died.
So was he home when it happened?
No, he was actually in the hospital. He was in a diabetic coma in the hospital for probably about a week. And
so you'd go to the hospital and stand by his bed.
It was difficult, man, seeing, you know, tubes and like that and so on, you know. And even as a kid, man, you sit there like, damn, this is, you know, I guess you know how to feel, but you don't know how to feel because, you know, you see, you see this strong presence all the time. You see bouts, you see different things going on in their lives, but at the same time, you know, it was definitely a thing where you got to take care of yourself, you know, and I feel like I'm a lot like him because I make that effort to make sure that people are taken care of and happy, you know. It feels like almost a mirror of certain things I see. Characteristics, you know, making sure our family's taken care of and things are good, but at the same time, you know, being vulnerable to things, you know. But that's the one thing I think we had a lot of things in common. I feel like, but I also feel like there's a lot of things I would have done differently, you know, like, you know,
you don't have any cut up rabbits.
When you got a family to take care of,
you don't have any cut up rabbits on the hall.
No, I'm no rabbits like that. I'm not into that. my brother loves that kind of stuff though. But at the same time, you know, you see employment. There's so many different things that you have to deal with as a parent and growing up, and as a, I use it as a black man. You have certain opportunities for certain things, and you have to really capitalize on those things. My father was a country guy from North Carolina, but he wasn't a scholar, but he was a hardworking guy.
But the call comes that day.
Yeah.
You're in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go into survival mode? Like, okay, I'm now calm. I'm the man of the house now, or was it a situation where it's a complete chaos?
It was chaos because see, my mom is not good with loss. She just not. She doesn't like to deal with that kind of stuff. So even when the phone rang, and my auntie was on the phone, and as soon as my mom picked the phone up, she just handed the phone to me, and she just like walked away, and sat on the floor because she knew just by her sister-in-law's voice that something happened. So she just broke down, and I'm sitting there like that was like the changing of the guard, actually. To hand the phone to the oldest son, I got on the phone with her, I found out what happened, consoled my mom. Then I had an uncle that lived upstairs, so I had to go up and I had to, go upstairs and tell him. And so one of those things, man, you feel the weight immediately. It's like my legs couldn't like take the weight immediately. So when I walked upstairs, and like halfway up the stairs, I felt my legs was shaking because it's just like it's like a metaphor, really. It's lost, but it's also like, oh shit, my legs, my strength take this new burden, this new responsibility. And I was like, wow, man, So it became one of those things. But again, so I took about a few days off school, and just like it just changes you, man. It changes everything, But at the same time, you learn from all the things that you see happen. You learn how to take care of yourself differently. But sometimes when you go blind because you're so busy working, and we've lost comedians who didn't take care of themselves. Because whether you're giving as a father or whether you're giving as a comedian, as an actor, you end up sacrificing so much stuff. And that goes from anybody we've lost, from musicians to actors to comedians. We've lost some great comedians who I felt like could have taken care of themselves a lot better. But it just happens, whether you have issues with substance abuse or whether you just don't take care of yourself, period. But how do you fix that in a moment? Some people are gonna want help, some are not gonna want help. You gotta find that balance of how do you fix that? How do you help people that need help? And a lot of times in the end, you say to yourself, I saw this coming. It's like, I saw this coming. And you can't how much do you involve yourself? Do you change your entire personal life to make sure this person is great? And is that person gonna accept it? And you're not, sacrificing your own life and time with your family and friends to help this person. You got to make sure that it's balanced. So, it's definitely something to think about.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6.
6 degrees of separation.
All right, 6 degrees of separation. I'm going to mention a name or something, and you're going to tell me what comes to mind. It could be one word, one sentence, a story, anything that comes to mind.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, Steve Carell.
Amazing guy, man. I worked with Steve Carell on date night. Here's something funny about Steve Carell. Our first movie together was a Louis C.K. movie called Tomorrow Night. Actually, I had a bigger role in the movie than he did. He had one scene. I had the whole movie. So it's just cool how you see the progression of someone's career. Steve Carell is absolutely amazing, man. I ran into him about a year ago, no, a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, in New York at the Four Seasons. Still always a great guy, man. We sat there and talked for like 10 minutes. Great guy, man. He was in Tomorrow Night, this black and white movie shot by Louis C.K., man.
Louis C.K., when I worked with him, when he first started from 18 to 26, he always told me, I love JB Smoove. I want to put him in anything. If I ever get something, I'm going to put him in anything. So that's cheers to that.
I love him. I just ran into him last night.
Adam Sandler.
Oh, man. What a great guy, man. I got a chance to, because of relationships, this is another thing about planting them seeds, man. Relationships are going to get you everything, man. I actually
It's my mantra.
I did the Chris Rock show. You know, being one of the only maybe three comics to ever do stand-up on the Chris Rock show. I was one of those guys. So I got lucky to do a Chris Rock show. I had done a sketch on the Chris Rock show before that, but Chris Rock actually, after I did Chris Rock show and done some stuff with him, he actually referred me to Adam Sandler. He was trying to find someone to be in Mr. Deeds. So I was in Mr. Deeds because of planting a seed with Chris Rock.
Relationships,
baby.
Tom Hanks.
Oh man, I love Tom Hanks. I ran into Tom Hanks at Madison Square Garden one day. Candid, very, very, very personable guy, man. We're going to a Knick game, you know, because I do 4 courses with JB Smoove. I have access to the owner's suite and that kind of stuff. And Tom Hanks was also a guest in there. So when I came into the room, I'm happy. The circles that I have this really nice balance of my career. We call it the demographics of whatever it is. But, you know, I have my, you know, I use it. I have my white shows, I have my black shows. So I'm happy that I have this amazing balance of my audience and people who love me and follow me. So when I walked into the room, Tom Hanks looked up, he recognized me from, I guess, Curb and the other stuff I've done, but he also has seen they was showing my promo on the monitor in the suite. So he turns his head, looks at my promo, looks at me like, he pointed to me like, JB, you know, and we talked for a minute. Really cool guy, man.
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey is absolutely amazing. She was a head writer when I was at SNL. Tina is so cool, man. Another thing of planting seeds, man. I gave her a nickname when I was at SNL. I called her T-Fay. I gave her a lot of cool nicknames. I had one guy named Waterbed Kev. I don't know why I called him Waterbed Kev, but it just rhymed. Pretty cool. Tina's great, man. You know, I got a chance to work with Tina actually recently, actually on a show called The Kicker, where she produced it. And also, we did date night together. And she was the head writer when I was at SNL. Always loved my pitches. Always helped me out, always gave me some great advice. And I'm so happy and proud for her, man, where she is in her career, man. And this journey, man, that we are all on is fabulous, man, to see your friends and colleagues move and shake, you know. And I always say, man, you know, don't worry about doing what somebody else does. Worry about doing what the you do. And then, you know, here's my thing about meeting people. I don't chase people. I just like to show up in the same room as them. That's when you know you're in the same conversation, man. I use parties and events as my gauge. When people see you in the same circles as them or know people you know, that's when you feel a little more comfortable. So you don't gotta actively chase people. You don't gotta burn bridges. You don't gotta make people uncomfortable. You just do you and show up.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle is like off the hook, man. I remember Dave when he was coming to the Boston Comedy Club, man. This young dude, man, was so...
In New York City?
Immediately. It's so wonderful to see someone at that age hop on stage and figure himself out that fast, man. Amazing career, amazing guy, man. We actually hung out at SNL 40. Great to reconnect with him, man. And, you know, look forward to hanging out with him soon, man. We talked about taking the ladies out to lunch or to dinner. And great guy, man.
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. put me in I must have done at least 5 or 6 of Louis' projects. And you were absolutely right. It's great to hear that. He's told me, a few people told me here and there, but I saw Louis the other night at the roast battle. So Louis is a great dude, man. But I've done several of his projects, man. We work together. We just keep running into each other, and I'm happy that I've done his Louis show. I did Tomorrow Night with him. I did Pootie Tang with him. I did his Filthy Dirty talent show. I did his other digital thing he did. He actually wrote on Cedric Entertainer Presents, a sketch show I was on Fox. He was a head writer over there. So I'm counting 6 or 7 things that me and Louis and I have worked on together. And I thank Louis for always considering me. So it's always fun.
Larry David.
Oh man, this is cool. But this goes back to, the SNL thing I told you about, how something's got to move out the way to allow something to come in. So being a big fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's kind of like I planted myself as a seed. Loving the show, big fan of the show. I remember going in to SNL on right days or pitch days, and we would talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm because it was on that night, and the next day we would talk about it because it was so goddamn funny. And I became a big fan of the show. And actually, man, things go into the universe, and you don't know how it works. But I was actually watching Curb Your Enthusiasm one day. My fiance, who's now my wife, and I was watching it, and I turned her on to it, and I said, "Baby, I love this show so much. I said, I would love to be on that show one day." And she turned around and said, "You're going to be on that show one day because you say crazy stuff all the time, and I see you on this show." Less than a month and a half later, I was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's the craziest thing in the freaking world. The turnaround to me getting on Curb was just crazy. And that coincided with me not being re-signed for my 4th season on SNL. So I met Larry. I remember our first day together. I remember the damn audition. The audition was absolutely crazy. I walked into the audition. I thought I was going to go on tape. I was actually in LA for a friend's memorial service. I lost one of my friends. And I decided to go to LA because he was a producer. He produced the song, "This Is How We Do It." This is how we do it. So I went to LA for one day. We had just signed with a new agent, APA. We just signed with APA, and we get there, and I get there, and I'm like, okay, while I'm in town, I'm just going to go ahead and meet with my new agents on the West Coast just to let them know, hey, what I want to do next. So I'll go in and meet them, and then an agent walks in late. He said, "Hey, I was running a little late. I was on the phone. How long are you in town?" I said, "I'm in town for one day." He said, "I have an audition here if you have time to go to it. I'm leaving town tomorrow." He said, Can you go now?" I said, "Yeah, I can go now." I said, "What's it for?" He said, "Curb Your Enthusiasm." I looked at myself, I said, "What? Wow. I was just talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm. My wife just said I should be on that show. And now this pops up, and I didn't get renewed for SNL." I said, wow. That just shows my concept of things, something that move, something to come in. So I go to the audition. Never met Larry in my life. Met Larry through the TV, and loved it.
Larry's audition process is very unique. Why don't you tell the audience about it?
So I thought I was going to go on tape. I walk in the room. I had no idea what to expect, but I knew. But here's my process when I do auditions. I'm not sure if it fits everybody, but I always walk into the room as the character.
Now, hang on one second. Just so you know, Larry doesn't have a script. Larry doesn't have, as they say, sides or pages that you can read. Larry has suggestions. That's it. So you go in, you know the character, you have a few sentences of what the character is, but 100 actors could read that few sentences about the character, and they could interpret it as being 100 different characters. Yeah. So JB has to choose almost psychically what he feels Larry's looking for, because he's not going to get a chance to call Larry and say, "Hey, buddy, yeah, I know you don't know me, but I know you on the show. So sorry I called you buddy. But listen,
I was wondering if you could just share with me what your interpretation is of the character. Hello? Hello. So keep going. I'm sorry.
So there is no, like you said, there is no script. It was just 3 scenarios that, we had to pick 2 of the 3 scenarios. And, I picked one. And I always do this. I like to walk in as the character because I feel like turning it on takes away from the process, takes away from a moment there, that initial meeting. So once I walked in the room and Larry was standing in the middle of the room, they said, okay, JB, you're going to improv directly with Larry. I had no idea that was going to happen. But I already knew in my mind, I'm going to walk in as a character. So when I came in the room, all the mannerisms, everything you see me do on Curb, I actually did that when I walked in the room. And Larry, once I saw him smirk, that's when the comedian instincts kick in. Because as a comedian, we think differently than an actor, but we have to coincide them together if you're going for an acting role. So you still have to use your comedic timing and instincts to recognize, like when you're on stage doing stand-up, people think comedians just talk a lot. We have to listen very intently to what people are laughing at exactly to give them more of what they like about you, whether it's facial expression, your physicality, whatever it is, your stage presence, something they love about you, they're laughing at. So once he smirked, when I came in the room and I did the little Leon, put my hand on my chest thing and I tilted my head a little bit and I looked at him like this, he started laughing like this, he nodded his head a little bit. And the first thing I said, my first words out of my mouth were, this is crazy to do. I don't recommend anybody do this. But they said, okay, JB, you're going to improv with Larry. I walked up to Larry as Leon, and I said, okay, Larry, we're going to improv, baby. I might slap you in the face. And I turned around and walked away. Larry looked at everybody like, what the fuck just happened? Who the fuck is this guy saying he might slap me in the face? But he didn't say it, but his look on his face was like, holy shit. And from that moment on, I sat in the chair waiting for the scene to start, and I just did Leon the whole time. And he just nodded his head, and that shit was gold. It was gold to the point where we were having so much fun, they had to stop us. They said, okay, enough, you two. Larry, there's a lot of people out there waiting to come in. Larry, at one point, we were laughing so hard. Larry turned his back, walked to the corner of the room, and turned his back, and leaned on the wall like, okay, I'm coming. Okay, I gotta compose myself. This guy's crazy. He came back to me, and we laughed our asses off. I leave, I get in my car, I'm driving back to the hotel to get my shit, to get the f*** out of there, to leave town. I came in town for a great reason. And I'm driving in the car, the agent calls me, say, how did it go? I said, you know what, man? It was fabulous. I said, but if someone else goes in there and can get that role, bless them. Bless them to have an amazing season. But we had a great time. So I ended up leaving town. I had to go to Pittsburgh. I had to go an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh Airport to go to do a comedy show in this freaking most horrible comedy club ever. So it's one of those things where sometimes, and I've never been in a hotel so f***ed up in my life. A motel.
Except this one.
This was horrible. I couldn't even, I was so tired. I had to just lay in my clothes. I couldn't touch anything. I got my shoes on. I laid on the bed in my fucking coat. It must have been freaking like 10 below zero. I saw flurries coming. I did the show. The show was freaking crazy. I got into an argument with the freaking owner about content. Something crazy happened. I ended up leaving. I said, you know what, man? He said, I'm going to book somebody, a local guy from Pittsburgh. I'll pay you for the night. I said, cool. I walked out of the club. I saw little snow flurries. I said, you know what? I'm from East Coast. I know how this story goes. I'm going to put this stuff here. It's the best hotel. And I'm not going to be able to leave tomorrow. I'm leaving tonight. So I said, I'm getting in my car. I'm driving back to Pittsburgh and stay at the airport, just in case there's a snowstorm. I start driving. When I tell you, it's like the sky opened up. I have never to this day seen that much goddamn snow come down. A half an hour into the ride, it's blizzard coming down. People pulling over on the side of the road. I said, fuck this, I can't stop. I'm stuck here. I was already half an hour from the hotel. I said, I'm not gonna turn around. There's no sense. I'm driving and I'm just going 15 miles an hour in the middle fucking lane. You couldn't see the road or anything. The phone fucking rings. I answered the phone. It's my goddamn agent. I said, man. So I immediately started apologizing for what happened. I said, you know what, man, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do about that comedy club, man. I'm sorry. He paid me for the one night. So he said, no, don't worry about it. He said, I know that guy, man. I should have told you before you went up there to do the show that the guy's a real asshole sometimes. I said, oh, okay. He said, but don't worry about that, man, because you got Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was like, what? I said, get the fuck out of here. He said, no. He said, he loved you. You got to start work. He said, how fast are you driving? I said, about 20. He said, do 10 miles an hour. Get your ass back to the goddamn hotel in Pittsburgh. Get on the first flight out. Come back to fucking LA because you got to start working. I said, holy shit. Called my wife. I said, baby, guess what the fuck I just got? She said, I fucking knew it. I knew it. I told you would go for that show. So I get back to LA. My first day at work, working with Larry. So what happened was I had to go back, do a few scenes. Then I had to come back and get all my shit together and relocate back to LA. So what happened was the first day. This is a crazy story. So we worked our first day on the job, and Larry said, we were just standing on the side in between scenes. They were changing the cameras. And he said, you know what? It feels like we've been working together for years. I said, isn't that fucking weird, Larry? It does feel like that. I feel like I already know you. And we did the full season of the show, get to the rap party. And they had the gag reel. You know what the gag reel is? The gag reel is a bunch of video they take out through the season, and they put it all together on one video to show at a party. All the funny moments, all the funny things that happen. They show the cast, they show the crew, they show all the things that happen throughout the season. They put the gag reel on, right? So my wife and I standing there, having a drink, just enjoying ourselves. They put the gag reel on. The gag reel starts to play, people started laughing. Guess what the theme song was on the gag reel? This Is How We Do It.
Holy shit.
My buddy's song that he produced. And if you know it during the show, I always say, that's how I do's it. I say that's how I do's it in the show all the time, because the only reason I came to LA was because he passed away. And I came to LA to show my respects for him. And he was one of my good friends, and he was a big fan, not just a friend, but a big fan, and always looked out for me. So I came to LA for the right reason. And SNL didn't get renewed. My buddy died. So think about this. So what if SNL had renewed me? I wouldn't have been able to go out on a contract. What if my buddy didn't pass away? What if he's still alive right now? I would never came to LA. I would never have opportunity to even be on Curb Your Enthusiasm. So things happen. So every time, so that day when I heard that theme song, my wife and I looked at each other. We just shook our head and said, wow. I just pointed to the sky. I said, yo, that ain't nothing but OG right there. That's OG saying, I love you, congratulations. That's all that is, brother.
Awesome. Speed round. Just give me a few words. Tracy Morgan.
Oh, this is funny. I'm saying something funny. I bet you remember this shit. Now, this is some shit on you. Remember when my first time auditioning for SNL at the comic strip?
That's right. I had 7 people testing. You were one of them.
7 goddamn people. Honestly, too many fucking people. So you wanted to meet with me, remember?
Yeah.
This is a funny story. So you wanted to meet me about the goddamn show. So I get there.
Now, how did that happen where I was involved in that with you when I wasn't representing you?
You gotta tell me that shit. So.
Because I wasn't managing you, but I got you the test.
It's something funny. So, you know, at that audition, there was a lot of folks on that audition. Tracy was one of them. So what happened was, after the audition, you called me and said, hey, you know, come to the office. I want to meet with you about, you know, SNL. I said, oh, shit. So I'm thinking, oh, shit. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to get on the show. So I come to your office, and we started talking. He started telling me everything about SNL. He started telling me about Lauren, how particular he is, what kind of things he likes, and how to approach it if you are called about it. But I didn't. You know, I'm just showing up. I'm green about the SNL shit. So I don't know what the fuck going on. All I know is he wanted to meet with me. So we started talking about it I was there about an hour. And you probably was on the phone for 45 of that phone. JB, give me a minute, JB. Give me 1 minute. I was sitting there like, in my mind, I'm thinking, what the fuck? I here for? Right?
Kind of like this interview.
Right. So Barry's on the phone off and on like 45 minutes. I was sitting there like, what the happened here? He's telling me about it. In my head I'm saying, he's telling me about SNL. But why the is he telling me about it? Am I up for it? I didn't know what the was going on. So I was like, I said, maybe I'm up for it. And then somehow, as we said, okay, you said, I'll give you a call, and I just want to tell you about it. And I said, okay. So I leave your office, I get in the goddamn elevator, go down to the first floor. I get to the first floor, the door opens. And Tracy's standing there. I'm like, oh, what's up? Right? And I said, all right, Trace, she said, yo, I'm going upstairs to see Barry. I said, oh, cool, man. I said, have a good meeting. I didn't even tell him I was up there to see you. I just said, whatever. I just said, all right, hey, have a good day. I'll see you soon, man. So I leave, doors closed, Next thing I know, Tracy was on SNL. So I'm thinking to myself, shit, I should have killed Tracy. I should have just mugged him and said, fuck it. I should have tied him up and thrown him in my goddamn trunk. I said, because Tracy made the goddamn show. But me and Tracy been friends forever. We've been friends forever. So for me, it was like I got on the show. That's my guy. So I remember Tracy first started doing stand-up. So for me, it was like, that is my guy. So I'm never disappointed when I don't get shit. I'm always happy that somebody got this shit. You know what I mean? Because I think it was a great opportunity for him. And at that time, I feel like it was, sometimes I feel like I know, because I like the casting process. I love timing and energy. And sometimes for me, I can accept not getting something because I feel like someone else was better for it in that time.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry's awesome, man. I never knew Jerry until I did the Marriage Ref. The Marriage Ref was cool. That's where I first met Jerry Seinfeld. And then when they did the season, the Seinfeld season of Curb, I actually met Jerry then. I met everybody who was part of that season. Although they call Larry the Hog, everybody called Larry the Hog because Larry never shares me with anybody else. So Larry, all my scenes are always with Larry. Even if someone else is in the scene, my scene is with Larry all the time. So it's always funny that people call Larry the Hog. Larry always hogs you, JB. We want to do a scene with you, JB. So that's why I met Jerry initially. And Jerry's always been cool, man. Every time I see him. And then I recently did an episode of Comedians in Cars, getting coffee with him. And then when I tell you, we hit it off like we hit it off like we've been friends forever. And I think it might be a Jerry thing because Jerry's my real name and Jerry's his real name. So I think it might have been a Jerry thing. So we ended up talking and kicking it, man. And it was a great episode. And we actually talked a lot off camera and on camera. And I feel like we're good friends now.
Awesome. Chris Rock.
Chris Rock is like, I gotta credit Chris Rock for a lot of my connections. He's really good at connecting the dots, man. And from me doing sketches on the Chris Rock show to me performing on the Chris Rock show to I think me and Chris are a lot alike. We're about the same age. We both have this New York thing about us. We both have opportunities to do stuff. We both kind of stick to what we do, and I think that's one thing we have in common. Chris does what he does, man, and he's for me, as far as stand-up, in this moment right now, what Chris does is he captures a time. He's a great voice for taking the craziness of the world and reprocessing it and putting it back out there in a cool way, in a way that makes sense, in a comedic way, but at the same time making light of it in a way that can promote change or promote humor. It's a balance there.
Last one, Lorne Michaels.
Lorne is like a great guy. I'm gonna tell you why. When I auditioned for SNL, a lot of people get petrified talking to Lorne Michaels. They get petrified to the point where they can't concentrate. They almost are petrified to talk to him. I freaking love that dude. I think I think the opportunity he gave me to be a part of SNL was amazing. Because when I would pitch, and like at the pitch meetings, everyone would pitch like 1 or 2. I would pitch like 3 or 4. And every time I went last, every time or next to last. And every time I stood up, because I would always stand up to my pitches, along with a smile. And I was performing for the room, but I would perform for him because I knew my thing was to get him to smirk and laugh. I mean, plenty of times he's laughed and like leaned back in his chair, just like, his little roller chair. And I would freaking like get him. Because again, the comedic instinct is, comedians have bad intentions for you, whether you believe it or not. We want to make you laugh at the same time. We want to make you piss. We want to make you shit yourself. I mean, my thing with Larry was, when I perform with Larry and we're in Curb and I'm focused on his eyes, I'm trying to make a snot bubble come out his nose because that's the only way I know how. That's why I'm so aggressive when I'm talking to him on the show. And I'm very adamant about what I'm talking about with Larry. And I'm making the most ridiculous point there is in Leon's head. And that's why I love doing that. And when I came to the show, I got a chance to work with him. At the same time, at the audition, I remember talking to him about Marty Friedman. You know Marty Friedman? I took an improv class with Marty Friedman because Lauren asked me what's my background and more about me. I was telling him, I took an improv class years ago, because when I started doing stand-up, I wanted to take an improv class so I could figure out who I wanted to be on stage. But at the same time, give me the ability to change gears in motion while I'm on stage without having to rely so much on written material. I want to be able to react, spill drink, or sneeze, anything. So I told him that I took an improv class with Marty Friedman. He said, Marty? I said, yeah. He lit up like that was one of his good friends. So I was like, man, yeah. We started talking about that kind of stuff. So when I got to SNL, I actually love, aside from not getting a lot of shit on, I loved it because it was something I had to see for myself. Had to learn what was out there. Sometimes knowing what's in there is great, but also learning what's out there is great because now I know how this works. I can apply this environment to anything else I want to do in my life, whether it's in front of the camera, whether it's stand-up, whether it's just a life lessons, life friends, the process of writing, the process of creating. A live show gave you that ability to pick up all these skills that what you need right now. And all those skills are in my toolbox. Those skills come out when I need them inadvertently. I don't recognize it sometimes. I said, well, shit, I must got that from SNL, rushing around, making a quick decision on something that's live. This is live TV. You got to go. And I thank Lauren for that. And what I do is, when I'm in New York, I go by SNL all the time. I go to his office. I'll sit there. I'll kick it with him, talk for a little bit. It's about 10 minutes when they're with him. Man, I just want to check on you, brother. People appreciate me check on them. I go in and check on Lauren, say hi to him, walk around, say hi to the new writers, keep the morale up. I leave the building. Say hi to everybody who works there.
Awesome. Your proudest moment in show business?
My proudest moment in show business. You know what it is? I think aside from everything I've ever done, I make it my point to be a part of things that, like I started in the Boys and Girls Club. In my city, 2 things. One is I got the key to my city, which is amazing. I have the key to my city. Also, I'm a big part of the Boys and Girls Club, which is where I started at. My humor actually started in the Boys and Girls Club. That's where I honed all my funny skills, And when I went into the Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame, for me, that locks me in, not just as an entertainer, as a comedian, but humanitarian, someone who cares about kids growing up, whether it's just Mount Vernon or around the world. This is something I'm locked in forever. I'm in the National Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame. That was an amazing moment for me because I felt like, okay, this makes it everything I've done worth it. It's not an Oscar, it's not an Emmy, but it's the most important thing I think I'm ever going to have.
Your biggest disappointment in show business and how you used it to fuel your career to the next level?
I did a show. I did a BET Award show one time. Now I was working at SNL, I was off almost a whole year from doing stand-up. But they begged me to do it, and I did it. And I didn't have a great set. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was terrible. Matter of fact, a comic brought it up the other day, just like here. Man, we were just talking about how that terrible night you had at the BET Awards for all those people, and somehow, man, you still are JB, and you still are like so leaps and bounds in your career and the things you do. And I just turned 50 years. I just turned 50, and I feel like I'm 30, because all those seeds are still blooming. These amazing flowers, man. I got a chance to smell them. I'm not so big that I'm stepping on toes. I'm not so big I'm burning bridges. I'm just big enough where I can just enjoy it and give you what the you want from me.
Last question. What advice do you have for the young artist who's growing up in the projects in some area of the world, going through some tragedy, some bad times, and trying to figure out what it will take to get to the next level? You've seen so many qualities and so many comedians, so many actors, so many writers, so many people in the business. What is it that you see as the key to getting to the next level and having the kind of career that you have?
I always tell young comics when I meet them, they ask me the same question all the time, and I tell them, look, don't be afraid to make your story. Don't pattern yourself off of other people. Don't get jealous of what someone else is doing. Don't try to emulate what they're exactly doing. Once you create your own story, you have the ability to move things around and make it adjusted to your preference, to your movement. I always tell people to be the same person on stage as you are off stage. Not that you got to joke around all day, but have the same mind thought, the thinking of it, the base of who you are should always come out on stage. That makes you genuine. I tell comics all the time, write the jokes, but don't rely on the jokes right now. Get your stage presence together. Get your character, who you are on stage together first. Jokes are gonna come in abundance. They're gonna come. But anybody can tell a joke. It's what you apply to that joke. It's the base of that joke. It's the base of who your character is and how you present that thing that's gonna make people laugh the most. When you do a movie, when you get them cast in a movie, guess what? You can't bring your goddamn jokes. They want who you are, the character, who you are behind these jokes. The jokes are just surface. The jokes are just a vehicle. Stand-up is just a vehicle to get to your next level of where you want to go at. You're driving a comedian car. That's what it is. It's just a mode of transportation to get where you want to go. And when you're doing this acting, this stand-up, your dream is to do this. Cast your own shadow. Enjoy what you're doing. You're gonna perform in front of a lot of audiences. I learned something whether I do good or whether I do bad. If I do good, how can I make it better? If I do bad, what did I do wrong here? Okay, let me figure out how I can make this thing work. I've seen it work. Why it's not working tonight? I did something. My pace was wrong. And listen on stage. Understand, listen to what they are exactly laughing at. You can say a bit, and sometimes the bit is getting a laugh, but sometimes your eyebrow raise, or whatever you do, or the way you scratch your chest, or the way you scratch your cheek, or the way your eyes open, and they're laughing at that means they love your mannerisms. Do more of that. Cater to whatever you do, and talk about what the fuck you know about. Don't get yourself in the hole where you talking some shit and you don't know what you're talking about. Because a lot of times you'll hear a murmur in the crowd. You're like, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. You'll hear it. You're like, all right. You know what I mean? Get your goddamn facts straight. So only talk about what you know about and what you are familiar with. If you don't know politics, don't talk politics. Don't do it to yourself. If you don't know sexual humor and your sex shit is wrong, don't talk sex jokes. Just know what you do well, and but above all though, realize that you're giving a gift to people. You know, the promoter pays us, of course. You pay to get in that club, but guess what? We are actually giving you something for free because we don't get residuals on how many times that joke makes you laugh while you're driving in traffic, or how many times you tell that joke to a friend or your wife, or you bring it up 10 years. You know how many times in the lobby someone brought up a joke for 10 years ago from me? You don't get fucking paid. Now imagine if every time I
acted out that in the lobby for you.
Imagine if every time you did it, I got $1. This ain't fucking iTunes. You know, this is free. You know what I mean? That was a song, and you did that song on some TV show. Guess what? You got to pay me for using that song. You know, wouldn't that be amazing if we got paid every time? Somehow, some kind of satellite system that recognizes every time someone is inspired or laughs at your joke, and your app on your phone just goes bling. Oh, another $1. You know, that'd be so freaking cool. But we don't get that. We can say profound, amazing things like a poet, but nah, comic is different, man. But the world is also changing so fast. Also, man, everything's so PC now. The comedic voice is in a weird place. You know, so I just know that comedy, we are the first wave of taking the real news, the fucked up part of the news, or the interesting part of the news, and taking it in, reprocessing it, and putting it back out in a manageable form. So imagine all you saw was just the regular damn news every day. That should drive you fucking bonkers. You couldn't live just hearing the regular news with no take on it, with no absolute take on it from a comedian or a late night show, and no one ever talked about the fucked up news. You'll shoot yourself in the fucking head because you couldn't deal with all that crazy shit every day. You know, someone that make light of the political platforms or make light of something that happened around the world, man, you just can't live like that. So, you know, I hope that, you know, a lot of things are happening as far as, you know, how things are perceived and how things are seen nowadays. You're silencing voices, you know, and I hope we can, you know, find a way to keep laughter in our lives and be able to enjoy ourselves, man, and allow someone else to do it, allow someone else to take the pain and the relief off you. When someone on stage talking about their life, a lot of times you look at the base of it, a lot of that shit is real. If someone said their dad was crazy or something happened, that shit is real. You know, it's just coming from a certain place. They kind of spin it to make it humorous, to deal with it themselves. But like I said before, we sacrifice a piece of ourselves. Whether you're singing, whether you're acting, whether you're a comedian, whether you're a manager, whether you're an agent, you're sacrificing a piece of yourself to make something amazing, you know? And you can't, everything can't be done for money. It just can't be. It's impossible for things just to be about the money of it. You really have to have integrity and pride in what you do, you know? So this is what we do. BK, are you with me?
JB
I don't mean to go hard all the time, man, but you know, this is, you know, I'm 50. If I was 20, I wouldn't even be talking like this, you know, but I'm 50, baby, and I'm satisfied, and I'm cool with the process. I'm cool with what I do. I'm cool with pressing my own buttons. But any young guy out there, you gotta ride through it, baby. Ride through this shit. You know, enjoy it, but ride through it, man. And I'm happy that, you know, I'm seasoned and I know what I want and what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
Well, JB, you cast a shadow, buddy, here, and I'm glad you chose to do this and you wanted to do this. It means so much to me. It was so incredible today. You were amazing.
Man, I'm happy you're happy, man. You know, like I said, man, whether it's on stage or whether it's off stage, whether it's in interviews, man, you heard me on Stern, you heard me on all these other shows. I give, brother. I give. You know, this is I'm not gaining anything by holding in knowledge and holding in things that I can give away to someone else.
Oh, I appreciate it. The audience appreciates it. Thank you so much.
Hey, man. Good being here, bro.
Amazing. All right. As always, this has been another episode of
Tricky Ricky
of Industry Standard with me, Barry Katz, and Tricky Ricky Dorfman. And if you like the show, tell all your friends. And if you don't like the show, tell all your friends.